This was a movement like nobody's ever seen before. And frankly, this was, I believe, the greatest political movement of all time. There's never been anything like this in this country and maybe beyond. So I want to thank the American people for. It is now clear that we've achieved the most incredible political thing. Look what happened. Is this crazy? But it's a political victory that our country has never seen before, nothing like this. I want to thank the American people for the extraordinary honor of being elected your 47th president and your 45th president. It's time to put the divisions of the past 4 years behind us. It's time to unite. And we're going to try, we have to try, and it's going to happen. Success will bring us together. I've seen that.
So it certainly was the greatest political movement in the history of United States presidential politics. I would say even surpassing that, one of the other greatest presidents ever, Ronald Reagan. Because Ronald Reagan did not have to put up with 90% of the bullshit and the deep state going after President Trump. But you know what? Let's hear from Morning Joe, and it's M-O-U-R-N-I-N-G, Joe, and Mika Crocodile Tears Brzezinski. Let's hear what these people, these so-called pundits, have to say, because I've never seen any other people. Well, there's a bunch of them out there too, but if you had to list on the top list of those people on the Democratic side, the pundits that can not only at the simultaneously time talk out of their mouth and their anus, it has to be M-O-U-R-N-I-N-G Morning Joe and his sidekick, Mika Crocodile Tears Brzezinski. Let's hear them pontificate and basically say they saw it all coming. Because that's what these guys do. They speaketh with forketh, tongueth.
Joe, we'll start with your take.
Well, I mean, so much to go through, so many questions. I came onto the set and Willie said, hey, by the way, because we were talking about the historic nature of this sweep.
Yeah.
And Willie said, do you know, he only lost Illinois by 4 points.
No shit.
New Jersey by 5. I mean,
really?
You talk about we had talked about a red wave 2 years ago that never materialized. This is I've got to say, this is the biggest red wave I've seen since Ronald Reagan's 49 state victory in 1984. It seems every Republican across the country improved.
Donald Trump is on track to sweep the 7 battleground states. We still have 3 outstanding. We'll see how those go. But he did better almost everywhere.
We told you, idiots, that he was going to do that. You saw the polling data. You saw polling data. Biden up by 23, won by 23 in 2020, technically. But let's assume that he did win. He won New York by 23 points. Polling data, what was it showing? It was showing what? That it was gone to single digits. Every single blue state, every single red state was showing the shift that was occurring. I talked about it. Little old me called this election. But you guys, you're shocked. You're surprised that he only won Illinois by 4, New Jersey by 5. Is it possible that Illinois could be a swing state in 2028? New Jersey certainly will be.
Every county where the hope from the Harris campaign was that she would make up ground on Joe Biden's suburbs. Donald Trump actually did better. We'll break down some of these numbers, but the gender gap was not nearly as wide as the Harris campaign needed to be, and Latino men came out in force for Donald Trump.
Boy, what a huge difference that made. And, that was really just part of the stunning outcome. I mean, America, first of all, is far more to the right than any time in our lifetimes, even going back to the Reagan years. And Donald Trump won in dominating fashion. But he did that along with other Republican candidates in the Senate races and the House races. They're likely to dominate all branches of government for the next several years. And Donald Trump not only broke out through that sort of hard ceiling of 47-48%. Think about this. He became only the second Republican to win a majority of the popular vote since 1988. In 36 years. And he did so after.
We told you, Mourning, Joe. We told you he was going to win. I predicted that he was going to win the popular vote by probably about 1.2 million. Did that on a calculation. Predicted that. Now, the only thing that I was wrong in my predictions, and I'll be upfront on that, I was overestimating Donald Trump's strength. I thought he was going to flip New Hampshire based on polling data. I really thought that wave was going to go through. I thought he had a shot at flipping Virginia, Minnesota, New Mexico, any two. That's where I was wrong, because I had 345 electoral votes. Only ended up with 312. Do I give a damn? Hell no, as long as he won. But I went out there on a limb based on the fact that everybody was playing it safe and calling it at 310, 306, 312, 315. It was in that range. Most of them were in that, 300 range. I just thought that wave that was there just, just didn't materialize. But it certainly has set it up for 2028.
A week of polls, most notably Ann Seltzer's revered Des Moines Register poll, showed Harris making remarkable inroads among the type of voters who would swing the margin for Harris in the blue wall states. The
it was all a bullshit
ended
poll.
up being true. Donald Trump won in a rout across Big Ten country, taking Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin without a serious fight. And now, with expectations rising in the Harris camp in the final days of the campaign in a historic ground game.
Historic.
When you look at the depth of it and the reach of it, this race still ended up being over before it began. And Jonathan Lemire, it is, again, the scope and scale of this victory is sweeping. And we can focus, by the way, we can focus on Donald Trump if we would like. But this goes so far beyond Donald Trump. Make no mistake, his victory, again, historic. But you look at Republicans across the nation. You look at how handily they're winning states. As Willie said, you look at Illinois, a 4-point margin. Illinois, a 5-point margin in New Jersey. This is a Democratic Party that has been just wiped out this morning.
Yeah, Republicans steamrolled. They have captured the Senate. The House still up for grabs, but those close to Speaker Johnson think the Republicans are on track to have that as well, potentially handing Donald Trump a unified Republican Washington, D.C. when he takes office. It was stunning. We thought this election could take days to be counted. It was over late last night, early this morning now with the official call. You mentioned the Iowa poll that so many Democrats had hung so much hope on in recent days.
Bullshit
that had
poll.
Harris up 3 points. Right now, the margin for Trump in Iowa is about 14 or 15 points. This is a 16 or 17 point miss.
Unbelievable.
A 16 or 17 point miss.
That's what happens when you guys effing lie to the American public. And Alka-Seltzer, that's what she needs, because she's got a hell of a hangover and a hell of a headache, folks. And Alka-Seltzer, your reputation, whoosh. You hear that toilet flushing with all that garbage and fecal waste material? That was the diarrhea, the verbal diarrhea that you were spewing on your poll there, and Alka-Seltzer.
There was not this surge of voters breaking late to Harris as it turned. And for Donald Trump, it must be said, this is a president, he was impeached twice. He botched the handling of the pandemic.
No, he
faced
didn't,
4
you
criminal
idiot.
cases. He inspired January 6th.
No, he
and won
didn't.
anyway.
Lies.
And now he will return to office with few guardrails internally.
Thank God.
Encouragement from Moscow and other foreign adversaries.
Oh, you stupid son of a... You know what? God, you have TDS syndrome. You have to bring up Russia and Ukraine, all this other stuff. You are an absolute retarded, moronic idiot politically. God, you're a goddamn idiot.
And a Supreme Court that has said that his power is largely unchecked.
Well, I've got to say, historians will look back at those trials over the past summer, John Heilman, where he was sitting in there, and it certainly fed into his victimhood. And that will be seen. Those trials where he's sitting in court all day will be seen as an as-kind contribution for Donald Trump, because there is no doubt those trials this summer were a defining moment in this campaign.
We told you.
And defining not in the way that obviously a lot of opponents of Donald Trump hope they would be. There will still be, I think historians will be grappling with a lot of questions going forward, including the question of how someone who is a convicted, first ever convicted criminal convictions against a former president.
Bullshit convictions.
I think, we've all sat here and talked about the extraordinarily, for a lot of people, extraordinarily offensive performance of Donald Trump in his last 2 weeks. The things that he did and said seemed like he was, we literally just sitting here the last few days ago. I'm like, how can this man, the way he's performing in the closing days of this campaign, how can this guy get elected? He seems like he doesn't want to get elected. The things he's performing.
Because you're a moron politically. You're an idiot politically. You are retarded politically. You have absolutely no fucking credibility. And I'm using that word. You have it's all bullshit. In fact, you know what? You probably do deserve the double finger. Yes, you do. Because of everything that you've just said over here. You have no political clout whatsoever. None of you, because you lied for 3.5, more than that. You lied for the last 8 freaking years against this man. And now you're wondering why he got elected? Look in an effing mirror, fess up, suss up, put your balls on the table and basically say, you know what? Yeah, we were wrong, but you'll never do that. And I don't want you to do that. I want you to continue going down this lane. Please, I'm begging you, please stay in this lane. Because we want to trounce you in 2026, and we want to compound that in 2028. So continue with the lies, continue going down the same lane. We're loving it.
Miming oral sex on a microphone stand and all the rest of it, the enemy within, the various things that provoked John Kelly to come out and say the things he said.
Liar Kelly.
In the end didn't matter. And I think one of the things that didn't matter enough to keep him from performing better in this election than he has performed in any of the prior ones. That will be a question for psychologists, sociologists, historians, political scientists for a long time. Right. Because I think for a lot of people in the country, it is unthinkable that Donald Trump, this could be the one that he could improve his performance from the past.
You're such a political idiot. He's going to probably have north of 75 million votes, and you're saying that it was unthinkable? Unthinkable? He won over 50% of the popular vote? That's unthinkable? That's why you guys are never going to understand this. You'll never understand this at all. Joe Biden calling supporters garbage. Hillary Rodham Clinton calling people deplorables. You basically implying people can't think for themselves. How could they actually do this? Because you're politically retarded.
But he did. And I think the other question we now are going to be grappling with that's quite clear is we have had consistent polling that has had this race effectively a tie. I'm looking here at the polling, the daily polling averages where Donald Trump in a lot of these states was at 47, 48, consistent with the notion that he had this ceiling. that he had never been above 47% before.
Right.
It looks like there's going to be in these battleground states about a 3-point polling miss in aggregate again, as there was a 4-point polling miss in aggregate in 2020, and there was a 3.5-point polling miss in 2016. The polling industry right now, public and private, has now in 3 successive elections missed Donald Trump's support in America by substantial numbers. And I will say finally.
No, you're an idiot. You are an idiot. Plain and simple. If you check the pollsters that pretty much got it spot on, like Atlas Intel, Rasmussen, People's Pundit, On Point Politics, Gold Crown Politics, I think I said Rasmussen, Red Eagle Politics, Trafalgar, Insider Advantage, all of those were pretty spot on. But see, you don't read those polls. You don't bring those polls onto your little cable outlet news stations. Why? Because you don't want that narrative. You want the narrative from the polls that are like, at the bottom of the heap. Like Quinnipiac, out of 25 pollsters, they're number 25. Morning Compost, which basically is just a shit show of a pollster. That's who you guys push. YouGov, Apple News, Yahoo News, all these BS polls that are just for movement and money. And as long as you keep doing that, of course you're going to miss.
The thing that you heard from people in the Harris campaign in the battleground states, particularly in those blue wall states, was if the numbers are right, meaning the numbers we were seeing in public and their own numbers. If those numbers were right, it's really a tie, they would say. We think our ground game will help us win. It turned out those numbers were in fact wrong. And there were people who said all along, hey, we could be looking at another 2020 and 2016 in which Trump's support is understated. And if that's the case, he could win all of these states by 2 or 3 points. And that is in fact what's happening.
This was the third
what's
time.
happened?
This was
3 times in a row.
This was the third time in a row, as you said, that Donald Trump's support was understated, especially in
you
the
guys
upper
will
Midwest
never learn.
states.
You'll never learn.
Just not working. But Mika, again, you go through it. You look at the final weeks of the campaign. It was not only the public polling, which most campaigns dismiss, but it was actually the polling inside the Harris camp.
Right.
They the last week were growing more confident because the numbers that they were seeing. The only people who had polls that ended up being right from the beginning were the Trump people. Remember, we kept saying they just had this
solid
confidence. They were overconfident. Their numbers weren't matching the private numbers of Harris. They weren't matching the public numbers. They had the right numbers all along because they were saying we're getting more votes from Hispanic men. We're getting more votes from black men. We are going to do better. And they were never internally, they were never worried. I think until the Ann Seltzer poll came out, and then they said, could we be that wrong? And it ended up, they were not that wrong.
Yeah.
Of course they're going to think about this. Of course they're going to think about it. That's what they're going to do. They're going to think about it. What else are they going to end up doing? But, they thought about it for probably a couple of seconds, and that was it after that. That was pretty much it. The Ann Seltzer poll. Again, what propaganda to try to drive that final narrative. Because I'm telling you what, I don't give a damn what you were saying, okay, in terms of what the Harris people were saying. Their polling was off. They needed these final, push polls to come out. I mean, come on. 17 points you're off? This is supposed to be Ann Alka-Seltzer? This idiot woman? That's right. She's a moron. She's a retard. Her political future is completely gone. You can't hire would anybody hire a political retard anymore? A retarded pollster like Ann Seltzer? Anymore? Knowing the propaganda that she put. If this isn't propaganda and she actually polled this, that's even worse. She would be much better off coming out and said, you know what? We pushed that poll out there. It was a fake poll. Sorry about that. That would be better for her. Because at least that would be telling the truth. But if she's coming out and saying that she had a 17-point polling miss and she did it right, I wouldn't hire her to poll my kindergartner's birthday party. Amazing, folks. Amazing. Anyways, we appreciate you taking the time to watch. You've been watching the Dr. Nasir Shaikh Show. I've been your host. My name is Dr. Nasir. If you've been already subscribed to the channel, like, share, and follow, you all know what to do. Take a look at our video links, so you'll see 4 of those right in front of you. Choose all 4 of them. Let us know what you think in the comments below. What'd you think? Did Mourning and Mika Crocodile Tears Brzezinski and the entire panel over there, were they talking out of both sides of their mouth and their arses, their anuses? I think so. What do you guys think? Anyways, my final thought is always, when you're right, and I always am. And when you're left, well, you're wrong like these bozos. Until next time, folks, y'all take care and stay safe.